I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hey everyone, welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I am, as always, Ken Reed, your TV Guidance Counselor, and it's a very special month, everybody. This month you're going to be getting some gifts from me, some extra episodes. I had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of cool people this month, and then some additional cool people. So I thought, since it's my birthday month, I'll be 44 at the end of the month, I'd give a gift to you. So most weeks we'll be getting more than one episode, I think. That's the plan, at least. So here is one of them. This week my guest is Sam Brown, who was a member of the Whitest Kids You Know. I guess is still a member, technically. Once a member, always a member. This is a really fun chat. This week, I think, Wednesday the 5th, tonight, he's doing a show of pianos in New York. Tomorrow is the premiere of the Whitest Kids animated movie. Sam talks about that here. He also has a Twitch show with his brother, and his brother has a great Twitch show, and Sam teaches sketch comedy classes. You can do them over Zoom. We talk about all that here. There'll be links here. You go to sambrownuniversity.com and see all the links to his stuff there. But this is a very fun chat. I always love the fall previews, and that's what we got this week. So you're getting 2 episodes this week and a fall preview. Pretty cool, huh? If you want to get me a gift, please do. I want Jaws, scratch tickets, and donuts. That's it. I would take those, but that's not really what I want. If you can become a patron, if you have $5 a month, I would love it. If you could be a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/TV Guidance Counselor. $5 and up a month, you get PDFs of every episode's TV guide that we use the TV guide. So this week you'd have access to 2. You could follow along with this fall preview issue. And secret little insider tip. I give you access to all the TV guides I've scanned. So you get the whole backlog. So you could sign up for $5 a month for 1 month, go download all the TV guides, and then just tell me to F off. And please don't do that. But, if you do, I get it. Anyway, even as much as $1 a month is a huge help, I really appreciate it. If you just want to tell someone that you think would like the show to check out the show, or leave a review of the show wherever you listen to it, that is a huge help too. I appreciate it. It's weird to be approaching 44. I turned 40 in the pandemic, so I feel it's a whole thing. I won't make you my therapist. But anyway, so here's your extra episode this week. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's second episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Sam Brown.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Live via satellite from the West Coast. Sam Brown, how are you, sir?
Hello.
So we were just discussing how there was a bit of a kerfuffle because you thought I was on the West Coast. I thought you were on the East Coast. It was opposites. There's your romantic comedy. It's sort of like a Meet Cute.
Yeah. This is, very Sleepless in Seattle kind of
That's
thing.
right. They meet in the air. But you're from Massachusetts originally, right?
I'm from Sandwich, Mass, from the Cape.
And Sandwich has come up on the show several times, mostly due to the famous headline, Missing Child Found in Sandwich. And of course, how funny I think the Sandwich Police are.
Yeah, Sandwich Police, which I always think is like really funny because it's like growing up, we always thought the cops in our town were kind of assholes and like had a weird chip on their shoulder and had a lot of fun, chasing teens out of areas that they just like to have fun and, like cracking down on skateboarding and stuff. And then you get older and you realize like, oh yeah, they were the cops that everyone was making fun of.
It would only be worse if you lived in a town called Fashion and they were the police.
Yeah.
It's the only possible way it could be more humiliating than being the Sandwich Police. What are you, the Sandwich Police? Back off, man.
Yeah. Loser, Idaho. What are you, the loser?
But even then, you could be like, hey, I'm policing losers. Yeah. I am not one.
Yeah. True.
Unless you live in a town called Dildo. Yeah, so that's like heading out towards the dildo police, which I think is a...
That's not big enough.
Excuse me, do you have a license for that? This is powered. You need a license. So that's heading towards the Cape. You're what, like 45 minutes from Boston, probably?
An hour. I would always use that as the time. It's about an hour from Boston, hour to Providence.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
and an hour to P-Town.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I think it's give or take like 20 minutes to each of those things, but you know.
Telling someone you're going to take them to
sense.
P-Town sounds like a threat. I'm going to take an hour and drive you to P-Town.
Yeah. Sometimes the traffic's so bad it can be.
Yes, it becomes P-Town.
There's one road. There's a single lane going up there at points, and it gets bad.
I remember when I was growing up, this will get hyper local. We were my band was doing a show in the Cape, and this kid from Charlestown who, I don't want to say he wasn't the brightest. He had some interesting ideas. And we were approaching the Bourne Bridge, and he said, guy, look at that big fucking Ferris wheel. And he seemed to really think it was a Ferris wheel. Just like, we're going to drive over the Ferris wheel and go into the Cape, which would be much more exciting. So then, did you move to New York and that's where you did Whitest Kids, or did you guys start in L.A.?
No, we started in New York.
Okay, I thought so.
I did. So, yeah, I grew up in Sandwich, and I went to school at School of Visual Arts in New York City. And I got into college, like, late. Just like anything I've done in my life, I did it, kind of lazily and late.
When you were 51 years old.
Yeah. And so I got into college late, and all the student housing had already been filled up for my college. So I had to go to a general housing dorm. And so I was like living like basically like a half an hour away from my college. It was like right in the School of Visual Arts, like all around 23rd Street in Manhattan. I lived in Brooklyn Heights. So there was like a half hour, 2 subway changes, and you're to school, which is, kind of cool. And eventually I'd really like that kind of like distance. It would give me like kind of like decompression time. But like when you're first going to college, you're like, oh, like everything outside of where my stuff is frightening. And
I'm in the sandwich of the boroughs.
Yeah. And so I was like didn't know what to do. I would end up meeting someone at college, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool. So where do you live?" And they'd be like at the dorm, like everyone else,
right there.
Yeah, Oh, yeah. Do you want to hang out? And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." But I have to consider that if we hang out past 10, it'll take me an hour and a half to get home because the train runs slower, and it gets so much scarier.
Have you seen the film The Warriors?
Yeah.
That's what happens after 10 o'clock.
And someone I knew was like, hey, do you want to go see a comedy show? It's at this theater called the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. And I was like, the Comedy Central show started a comedy theater? That's so weird. I didn't even know that show got canceled yet. This was like 2000, Yeah. I think that was on in like 99, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think, late 90s it started.
Yeah.
It went more seasons than we remember it going.
Yeah. And I liked it. I was like, hey, like this show's really cool. Bucket of Truth, Wrestling Team, Poop on a Stick, Ass Pennies. And so I was like, yeah, I don't get how these two things go together. The comedy troupe having a theater. I don't know much about comedy at all besides like watching it, but sure. And so I went to a show there. I went to one of their Ass Cat nights. Their like Armando monologue kind of thing. And it was awesome. It was like so much fun. And like thinking back at the time, like the people that were doing improv for this free show or $5 show are, all very successful, very funny, like Rob Corddry and like
Jordan Klepper was there.
I think it was like like Amy
Polar was teaching still.
She was doing that while she was on SNL or like right before or something like that. Like Tina Fey her and Tina Fey had a show at this time. So I was like going to this thing and I was like, this is fucking awesome. This is so cool. And so I had nothing to do. So I was like, didn't really know many people. So I just started going to stuff at the UCB like all the time. And I would go to anything. And I went to an open mic there. And that was like before I realized that like open mics aren't for the audience really too. That was like
if there is one.
Yeah. So it was like me being like this like random audience member like excited to watch a comedy show. And so we're watching the show and this guy gets up and he takes out 2 pens. And he had like a notebook, and I remember like clocking him and being like, this guy's serious about comedy. Notebook, okay, wow, he's and it was a young guy, and he gets up and he just as he's about to like say something, he just starts pretending the 2 pens are 2 jets dogfighting. And does that for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, that's hilarious, that's so funny. So I go up to him after and I'm like, hey man, that was really funny. And he gave me the old cool thanks and walked away. I was like, okay, thought maybe that'd be a friend, but guess not. And
it's a swing and a miss.
Then weeks later I went to an open improv jam, and they like needed someone to like interview for the improv. So I volunteered, and they started talking to me, and they asked me if I had a term that me and my friends would use that no one really knew the definition of, like if there was any sort of local term. They were looking, I mentioned I was from Massachusetts, so they're looking for something like that. And all my buddies who were like into like hardcore, it was actually, we were staying with a friend who had a hardcore band staying with her, and they all used this term MUNG. I don't know if you know this one.
And it wasn't the band MUNG.
No, it wasn't
which
the band
was a hardcore
MUNG.
band in Boston.
I remember we were watching an episode of Brady Bunch, and like someone threw a football and it landed into a pot of like gook, and one of the guys was like, oh, she just has like this pot of MUNG lying around, and I was like, what's MUNG? And so he gave me this definition of MUNG. So I'm telling this to an audience of like 100 people, and also like not the most comfortable public speaker at this point, but also I've done it, but it's also I'm afraid of the world in general at this point. So
of course,
and so I start telling this definition of MUNG, which is, and being like, this, I've heard this, it's not something I came up with or have done. And everyone's like, oh, okay, weird. And I'm like, okay, so you take an old woman with a big fupa, and everyone like is like cracking up at this like weird 18-year-old talking about fupas. And I'm like, you take her, and I didn't come up with this, you tie her up in the woods. Everyone's like hysterically laughing that like, oh wait, this is getting dark. And I'm like, yeah, and you let her like die out there in the woods, and you let her like rot for like weeks, and then you come back with a friend or like a rock and a rope, and you jump on her fupa, and anything that comes out is MUNG. Sure.
Yeah, we all know that was classic.
It was one of those things where as I was saying it, I was realizing like how inappropriate it was. Because it's funny, because like in high school we would use it all the time to the point where the teachers would start using it, and they wouldn't know exactly what how like demented the definition was. But I told that story, and I said some other stories, but that guy with the pens came up to me afterwards, and he was like, hey, that was really funny, you go to SVA, I go to SVA, like we should start a comedy troupe. And that's how I met Trevor. It's like the first conversation, or the second conversation with this guy was the like, I guess you'd call the first one an encounter. This is the first actual conversation we had. Was the beginning of both the most significant friendship of my life and the most significant career of my life.
Yeah, it's weird how you like never imagine that will be the path. It's just like, because it's more or less a chance encounter.
Yeah. It was, just a random, And then the funny thing was like, we started talking and I realized that he lived a floor above me in the Hotel St. George. It was like, finally, I made a friend who lives near me. And then I walked to the subway, and he was with his girlfriend at the time, and walked to the subway, and I got on the subway, and I saw him across the tracks going uptown. And I was like, oh, that's weird. He's going away from the dorm. Huh.
He's a liar.
Like, I wonder what they're doing. And then later I would find out that he went uptown like 2 stops to go back downtown to avoid riding the train with me.
That's how you know that's someone you have a good working relationship with.
You put a lot of thought into it.
I mean, when you first meet someone, you don't want to get stuck on a train for like an hour with them.
Yeah.
That's a gamble that is difficult.
Yeah, that's the like not kissing on the first date, of a friendship. Of like, hey, I want to take this slow, okay?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
How about we meet there?
Yeah.
Because when you moved to New York, had you really ever been there before, or had you? Because being an hour away from Boston, most people don't hang out in the city. Like it's kind of a big culture shock. I'm imagining.
I'd been there a little bit, and actually, there was another person in the dorm that I was friends with. There's a guy I went to high school with, John Anderson, good guy. But we went to different schools, and he was kind of doing his own thing, and so I visited his school. He was going to Pace in Manhattan, but it was just one of those things where he was on his trip, I was on my trip, and and it was definitely oh, this is a whole new experience being there on my own. And
because is your brother older or younger than you?
Older.
He's older.
It depends on which one of us you ask, but if you check our driver's licenses, it confers that he is the older brother. If you went to high school with us, he's the older brother.
Okay, this is a scoop. Everybody.
But he's the only one. He's the only one of us that uses beard dye just for men. So.
You're telling all his tales.
Oh yeah.
Because he stayed in Boston. He did he go to school in Boston? Because I know him from Boston working here.
He went to UMass Boston, which is commuter school, and he went and did classes there while he was a door guy at Miracle of Science, and then it's like he worked there so long they were like, well, you might as well manage the place.
You're here anyway.
Yeah, you're here anyway. You know the way this place works better than anyone. So he ended up in 20 years working his way from door guy to manager of Miracle of Science Middlesex, and now he's out of the bar game altogether.
Good for him.
Yeah.
You should get out eventually. But so point being, you're the first one, even though you're not the oldest, you're the first one to kind of really venture far away. I
mean, he lived in Boston, but I was the first one to no, true. It definitely is barely away from home when you're in Boston, when you can still do your laundry at home, and then
if you could technically walk home if you had to. It might take a couple days, but you could do it. It doesn't count. So usually you picked the fall 94 fall preview edition.
This was so
and this is actually, it's such a weird year, and this is actually a Bronx edition. So I do want to point that out. Normally I scan all these. This one I got from archive.org, and I only say that because there is a really suspicious stain on the front cover that I want the world to know is not mine. It has nothing to do with me.
I didn't catch that. Wait, let me.
Yeah, it might be MUNG.
I was the thing that I was kind of confused by was I was expecting to see, okay, yeah, I see that MUNG saying, yeah. It's funny though, because it kind of fits with the aesthetic of the kind of Art Deco, like
slash 60s kind of weird, like cutout.
Yeah.
Fall preview thing.
It's camouflaged. The stain is camouflaged on there. It is really funny that this was it, because if the first page, right on the first page, there's a picture right there of recently deceased Dabney Coleman
and Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
And Earth 2, and that died a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's longest running show, huh? What are we gonna do without Earth 2?
It's, I mean, the year 2192, I thought, when Earth 2 started, I was like, this is going to air until 2192.
Yeah.
And then what are they going to do? It's going to be in real time. But just didn't make it. My favorite thing about fall previews is, since they don't know what shows will be hits, they treat every single show like on the same keel.
Yeah.
And so us in the future, in hindsight, it's so funny to see them be like, guys, there's some new shows. We're going to have huge hits, Sweet Justice and this thing called Friends. And then Madman of the People and Earth 2, massive. And you're like, no. Didn't work out that way. Martin Short show,
it is so funny looking at this, because it's Something Wilder starring Gene Wilder, and you're like, what was
on
this?
paper?
Yeah,
that would be, you're like, gold. We get Gene Wilder.
Yeah, I don't.
And then this ER thing with no one you've heard of, and it's a hospital thing, and no one cares.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently. Are you a basketball fan? We were just talking about the Celtics a little bit.
By osmosis, living here.
So, are you aware that one of the biggest basketball players this year, who's now being compared to a young Michael Jordan constantly? Do you know his name is Anthony Edwards?
Yes, I hear him on the radio, and I'm like, is this from ER, Anthony Edwards?
No, and that Anthony Edwards is no longer the most famous Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. And that Anthony Edwards, the new Anthony Edwards, is probably born in 1994.
Yeah. No, yeah. It just must be a weird thing being a very famous Anthony Edwards and just being dethroned like that.
Damn it. And I can't even use the union rules to make him be like Anthony B. Edwards.
Yeah. At least everyone calls that the new Anthony Edwards Ant.
Ant Ed.
But yeah, there's a lot of really weird stuff in this fall preview.
This was a weird year, so it was super transitional, because there was a bunch of big 80s hit shows that had ended in 92, 93. Like shows that people forget or don't know actually went into the 90s, like Dallas and Miami Vice. And then obviously stuff like Cheers and that kind of thing. So the networks lost all these huge cash cow shows pretty much all at the same time. And they're like, shit, we don't know what we're going to do. And Fox was kind of becoming a big player at this time too. So we're getting like Wild West, some bizarre stuff. Some of the networks were like, what we're going to do is get like older movie stars, which is why you see Dudley Moore's got a show that was terrible. You got Gene Wilder. You got all these people. They bring Cosby back for the Cosby Mysteries, which there's a whole. I'm not even going to go down.
There's another mystery there that they never solved.
Yes,
till years after the show finished.
Yeah, it was the reboot.
Yeah.
So it's just this weird mix, and then you have that, and then all of these sort of kind of innovative, weird, really quality shows that kind of only got on the air because some 70-year-old exec was like, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Kids like this.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but MTV's The Head.
Yeah.
It's on there. That was
the Max and The Head were on.
Yeah.
Yep. And MTV started doing its own original programming, like scripted programming, which was unusual. So they started getting these animated shows. They also started the show Dead at 21, if you remember.
Oh, I remember Dead at 21.
With Jack Noseworthy and Whip Hubley. Two real names.
That show, and wait, wasn't it like the female lead was like the Doogie Howser's girlfriend or something like that.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, she was.
That was complete off. That's no research. That was just complete. That's in there.
He just knew it. Everybody.
If I forget your name, it's because I know stuff like that.
Doogie Howser's girlfriend. And you had like Brian Bosnell from was in a family film with Bob Saget. This is like post Family Ties. You got, it's just bizarre. ABC's decided to do movies for some reason, which was a way to get like pilots out there that no one cared about. Lois and Clark started this year.
This was such a trip for me. Like looking at like it make like, you know, I work in television ish, you know, like and it's like, wow, this used to be such a bigger industry. Like,
sure,
if you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, sure. But not until like looking at this TV guide was I like the never ending list of TV movies. There's a part in this where it's like stuff on the network's back burners, like the shows, like these like backup shows that they have, and
from mid-season replacements. Yeah. Like we got them if we need them.
We got and it's funny. It's really like kind of like shit talky to them. Like it's like
the backbenchers, which is hilarious when you look at stuff that's got on the air. Like I'm looking on Sunday night and I'm looking at the show on Fox Hardball. That's basically a ripoff of the movie Major League. But I don't know if you noticed Joe Rogan in there. And this show was such a huge bomb that he ended up getting News Radio the year after this. Because he was not in the News Radio pilot, because he was doing this show.
Was it Mike O'Malley or someone like a Mike O'Malley-ish guy who was the original?
It might have been,
Joe.
who in hindsight, you know, probably better.
Say what you will about him, he was great on News Radio.
Oh,
I will give him that.
Some of the worst people on earth were great on News Radio.
Yeah, and also
pretty much everybody
had you can also see Don Adams back on TV with Andy Dick.
Yes, and that didn't work. We also have to point it out, because I mentioned on the show all the time, since there's no cigarette ads in here because they were outlawed, we're instantly replaced by prescription drug ads, so we get like a 4-page ad for Clariton.
Wait, there's
1 page
cigarette
of
ads in here?
Is there? I thought I didn't see them by 94.
There's a Capri ad on page 89.
Okay, so there are much fewer, because other ads in here are for gravy.
And a Montclair 100s. Maybe like they were like, you can't look, guys. We can't do men's cigarettes, but you can do Capri, Montclair 100. Yeah,
women can't get lung cancer.
Slims.
Yeah, their delicate constitutions fight that stuff off. There's a show called Wild Oats with Paul Rudd in it, and a friend of the show, former guest Paula Marshall. They're really pushing this show. They're like, this is going to be huge. It's a soap and sitcom for Fox. It's super cool.
So this is Fox on its way up too. Like,
yes,
this is
absolutely.
like Fox is not the punchline it used to be.
No, this is post Whoops, post Babes Fox. This is Fox is a true contender, and 90210 and Melrose Place are starting, and right here on Monday night, Party of Five is launched, which obviously would become massive, but sounds terrible.
Weird question. Now you see, like a couple pages after Party of Five, there's a show that Jennifer Love Hewitt was on. Doesn't Jennifer Love Hewitt eventually become famous for being on Party of Five, or?
Yes, and she was one of those like jobbing actors. Oh wait, here's a cigarette here for Durrell. Yeah, it says upgrade. Only the price is basic. Yes, she had been in a bunch of stuff before that though. So she was on Kids Incorporated. Yeah. She was in tons of ads.
McKenna was the show, the ABC show she was on. Oh yeah, and she was on.
And she almost
Birds of Paradise. Was that the show?
Yes. Yeah. I believe she was, yes. And like instantly when that got canceled, she moved into Party of Five, because there's always like mid-season where they bring out those backbench shows. Also, the shows that stick around all of a sudden get new cast members who are top lining other shows that got canceled.
It's so funny, like how like overt this was, like how like on the surface this was like.
Of course, yeah. They're like, oh, you're gone, but we have you under contract. It's almost like an old Hollywood system.
Yeah.
My So-Called Life here on Thursday nights, which they peg as a great show, which it was, but no one watched.
Now, wait. I have a real, what do you call it? Mandela effect thing here. For some reason, and I'm sure I'm wrong about this now thinking of My So-Called Life, because it like makes no sense. But for some reason, I thought my So-Called Life was an MTV show.
So you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So what happened was it was an ABC show. It was canceled. And then MTV, in an unprecedented move, bought the rerun rights the same year and started just rinsing it. Like they would play it over and over and over again, do marathons on the weekends. And they sort of were responsible for it getting that second life.
Oh, okay. Did they ever produce new episodes, or was it always that?
They tried to, because there was some history of that happening. Baywatch being the biggest example, because Baywatch was an NBC show on primetime, got canceled. Hasselhoff and the producers were like, can we buy this show back? And they were like, what the fuck do you want that for, idiot? Sure. And so they bought it back and did new episodes, and first run syndication becomes the biggest show in the world. There were a bunch of examples like that. So MTV had never done that before, and that was their thought. They had planned to do that. Claire Danes, by that point, was like, nope, I'm a movie star. Because she started getting cast in like Romeo and Juliet and all this kind of stuff.
Mod Squad.
Mod Squad. You know, and there was a lot of like in like the teen magazines, which I read at the time, there was a lot of people being like, fuck her, man, this show could be on again, but she said no. And because you can't really do it without her.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen. And by that point, like, especially with a teen show, like you have a very short window before people really just grow out of it.
Yeah.
Both audience and on screen. So it didn't happen. But Winnie Holzman, who created the show, she wrote a book called My So-Called Life Goes On, which is not a crossover. And it is based on the Bible for what would have been season 2. It's essentially season 2 of the show. And reading it, which is good, it's cool, it's well written and well done, but reading it, I'm like, I'm glad there was not a second season, because I would not have liked this.
What happens?
So like Jordan Catalano gets with Rayanne, and they like become sort of enemies with Angela. The parents get divorced, and the dad starts dating that girl from his cooking class and like moves in with her. It gets like a little bit too like Dawson's Creeky, kind of too much of a bum out.
But Jordan Catalano with Rayanne makes sense though.
Yeah, they're both nightmares.
Yeah, they're both like the like kind of like, oh, I'm a loser, I don't deserve anything, kind of like, you know, like.
Well, they seem like the couple that would constantly be loud fighting and breaking up at everyone's party.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
so
like,
I'm glad that didn't happen.
If it were real life, he would eventually get her pregnant. They would have the kid, and like he'd be working some factory job kind of thing.
Yeah, he'd be like, I only work at the gas station until my band takes off.
Yeah.
Which has never happened. No one wants frozen embryos, ironically. Then it's up against Due South on CBS, which is kind of a punchline show that I think people forget about.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a huge hit, and it's a big reason why My So-Called Life failed. Due South kicked its ass.
Due South, the picture that they have for Due South is so funny.
Silk shirt.
And like the premise, if you looked at this picture, you'd be like, oh, it's like one guy's clearly a Mountie. Yeah. And you're like, the other guy, I guess he's like a hobo clown. Like
or an 80s stand-up comic.
Yeah. He has the most colorful silk shirt on that's like a 3/4 sleeve.
Yeah, it's baggy. That is a blouse.
It's such a colorful shirt that I can't tell if he's wearing a tie.
I don't know if he is. I don't know if he knows if he is.
Yeah.
To be honest, that might be the plot of the first season.
Yeah,
is trying
that's
to solve
the first
that mystery. Yeah. So he's a slick Chicago detective who's teamed with a former Canadian
that's
mummy.
the thing. It's like slick Chicago detective, and he's making this face. Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Like this seems like a Simpsons joke.
Yeah.
Like this does not seem like an actual show. This seems like an SCTV sketch or like no way this is a real show. And no one really mentions it anymore, but it was on for like 10 seasons. And it literally is the reason my so-called life got kicked. Like it kicked
10
its ass
seasons.
in the ratings. Yeah, some of them I think didn't air in the U.S. I think because it was a U.S.-Canadian co-production.
Oh.
So I believe it stopped airing here and then just kept going on in Canada for a couple of years.
It's very much Canadian cowboy way.
Yes. Oh, totally.
The
Then
Woody Harrelson,
then Friends.
Kiefer Sutherland movie.
Oh God, that movie! Wow, nobody's favorite Woody Harrelson movie, but probably a few people's favorite Kiefer Sutherland movie.
The people who are like, Lost Boys is too bloody.
Yeah, I don't like that. This is much better. They kind of hate Friends, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
They go, first came Seinfeld, then came the new Ellen DeGeneres show. Do we need yet another pack of pals show? And while trying to appeal to Xers, the show doesn't exactly flatter them by portraying young adults as sex-starved losers. And it says, whether it deserves it or not, the sitcom couldn't ask for a better slot on NBC's schedule. Will be mad about you and Seinfeld. Whether it deserves it or not.
Yeah, it is like so wrong. The writer is like so just like, yeah, this show is not gonna make it.
No. What a waste of everybody's time.
I like also that in the description they call Joey a Tony Danza clone.
Oh, that's probably accurate for the first season.
Yeah. It's just funny though, they're sitting there going like, this guy's just doing Tony Danza.
Do we need... So you're telling me this show is Tony Danza on Ellen DeGeneres? Yeah. Yes, that is exactly how I would describe the show.
And it's funny. So like at first too, it's like it including an ex-bride. Okay, that's Jennifer Aniston, Rachel. Yep. A level-headed yuppie. Is Ross, I guess. A flaky new age hippie who's into auras and aroma. All right, Phoebe, obviously. Tony Danza clone, Joey. And a funny square. Chandler? Is that he's a funny square? And a cute geek.
That one I don't know who that
I guess that's Monica? Like because she's the last one, but like maybe
that doesn't seem.
But maybe she's totally the yuppie, and like I'm just saying the character.
She could also be the funny square.
Yeah,
it's like a horoscope. Anyone actually applies. It's whatever one you read, you go, oh, it's so accurate.
There's 3 that are like firm that are like. The new age
Tony
hippie,
Danza clone,
Tony Danza, and
one.
the ex bride, which is like.
Yeah,
what? That's not even a term.
Is that a character trait? That's just the thing that happened.
Yeah, that's just the pilot. Someone walked out on their wedding. Okay.
One-dimensional character.
And then the other 3 are like, and then there's a person, and another person, and another person.
Who does things? I see the Jennifer Love Hewitt show. This is right before she put out her album, her first album, which has the unfortunate title. Do you remember this?
Is it No One Will Ever Take Down the World Trade Centers?
No, that was the second record.
Oh, okay.
And then the third one was I Can't Believe I Dated Jamie Kennedy. But the first one, and this is the real title of this album, she's like 15 years old. It's called Let's Go Bang. And the first single was called Let's Go Bang. And she says to this day that like the producer was like, yeah, it's a new dance called the bang. And the song's about how you do the bang. And the poor girl, like.
Who's the producer? Dan Schneider?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know who it was, but like, I cannot believe that came out.
Now this song is called Sucking Dick's Fun.
Yeah, but it's a dance.
It's everyone's doing the sucking dick.
Yeah. Then we get Dabney Coleman as the dear departed Dabney Coleman, although I think he was like 97 when he died, so good innings for him.
Yeah.
Dabney Coleman, people forget, had like 7 TV shows, and they were all failures. Every single one of them. Although they won a Golden Globe for Buffalo Bill. They were all decent shows. Like, they were good, well done shows, but none of them were hits. And so I love that on this they go, strong point, Dabney Coleman. Also, Cynthia Gibb. Weak point, also B. Coleman, who's had several series without a hit. It just lists all the failures.
The Slap Maxwell story. Okay.
Yeah, that was like an hour-long, like kind of like a detective show that was actually pretty good. They haven't mentioned Drexel's Class, which was probably the closest thing he had to a hit.
Whenever I think of Dabney Coleman, I think maybe this is because this was like how he was really introduced to me. I always think of the movie, and I might mess up the name, but is it Short Time?
Oh, yeah, where he thinks that he's a cop and he thinks he has a heart, he's going to die, so he's trying to get killed in action. His wife will get the insurance.
And he keeps on like succeeding because he's trying to get killed he fails at getting killed.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah. That's a funny premise.
Yeah. I go back and watch that movie. I'm sure that's a good watch.
I've never not liked him in a thing. Like, even like the Dragnet movie, the Tom Hanks, Dan Aykroyd Dragnet, where he's that weird like Hugh Hefner type guy.
Oh yeah,
with a lisp. It's so weird. He was very funny. I was a big Cloak and Dagger fan as well.
Oh yeah, Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, he was the imaginary Cloak and Dagger
Jack
guy.
Flack.
Yeah,
who was also the kid's dad.
I forget. That was one of those movies where like I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a kid's movie, watch it. And I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of killing in this.
They're trying to kill this kid the whole movie.
Kill Elliot. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot of peril in that movie.
That's Elliot from E.T. and they are trying to kill him.
Yep. I've rewatched that as an adult and I'm like, this is just as disturbing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
You told me, you said, hey, plug anything you want, and I'll get to my actual plugs like later on, but I'm going to plug something that my brother does. If you go on Twitch and you watch Nate Blackist, he has a community of people talking about these movies like Cloak and Dagger and Short Time. He has a community of people who they do something called mid-hunting, which is they watch mid movies, which are movies that aren't good, but they're also not like bad movies. It's not like, oh, so bad it's good. They're like middle of the road movies, and they've broken it down to where they actually have a metric, and there's like through their Discord, there's a mid bot that they've created, which it can tell you like to a percentage how mid a movie can be.
Like the Cowboy Way is a good example.
Yeah, Cowboy Way. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so he's, like watching movies on Twitch. Like, I don't know, like
that. If you like this show, it sounds like you would love that show.
5 nights a week. Yeah. And yeah, they're watching, movies like Cowboy Way or like Kiss the Girls or,
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. What's the other one? There's a long list of Morgan Freeman movies that I'm sure can fit in the Virtuosity.
Yeah.
That's Denzel, but
Double Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah. So all those like courtroom movies.
I mean, they'll do a thing where they'll be like, all right, we're going to watch a courtroom one and like have like 5 courtroom movies and they'll vote on them and then pick one. So yeah.
I might just hang up and watch that now.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I'll just wait.
Just wait. Yeah, I'll be back in 2 hours.
Okay, and we're back.
And we're back. No, I like to do it in real time. They talk about Chicago Hope here, which was a great show. And I think obviously got, shoved in the shadow of ER. But they kind of are like, hey, the real hit show here is Chicago Hope. ER is okay. But, if we're pitting these two against each other, we're betting on Chicago Hope. And they were wrong.
Now, yeah. This TV guide writer didn't know their ass from their elbow.
No. But at the same point, I put myself in their shoes. that is a difficult position because you're basically betting on horses. Like you got to pick.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't know. Like,
Yeah, totally.
on paper, Chicago Hope's a good show. The cast is really good. You have David E. Kelly behind it, who is already like a proven TV guy. Whereas ER was weird because it's Michael Crichton, who is a movie guy, and none of his stuff has been like a medical drama. It's sci-fi. So they're like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, I remember it's based off, his book, and being like, oh, I got to read this book because it's going to be like Jurassic Park, and it was nothing like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it was about his own residency in Harvard. I think it was called 5 Patients. And all the cast of ER were sort of looked at as either unknowns or failures. So like George Clooney, TV failure. Like he had been in so many failed TV shows.
Yeah, what was
it?
He
was
was
like 20.
Facts of Life, right?
He was on Facts of Life was one of the bigger hits, but he was in Baby Talk, which was the Look Who's Talking show. He was on Roseanne. He was on a show called ER that was a different ER. It was a sitcom with Elliot Gould in the early 80s.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, he was in a show with Jack Klugman. Oh no, that was John Stamos. You Again was Stamos. But like tons and tons and tons of failed shows. As was Anthony Edwards. Like he had just come off of almost replacing Fleischman on Northern Exposure. But he was kind of looked at like a movie actor who had kind of got downgraded into television. So if you look at them and then you look at the cast of Chicago Hope, it's like a killer cast where they're like Adam Arkin, Peter McNichol, Mandy Patinkin, like E.G. Marshall, like people who are names. So, it makes sense when they're like, if I had to pick, but I do prefer ER myself.
I have a funny story, which is, so Trevor, Zach, and I, we, forget what year this was. I think maybe like 2017, 2016. We, got involved in trying to make a television reboot of Stripes. It was this thing we heard they were looking for, and we were like, yeah, we could do that. We found out that Ivan Reitman was going or he was looking for someone to make a Stripes TV show, some like idea that they were playing around with, and so we pitched ourselves to be the writers of it. He liked our version of it. We wanted it to be like different from the movie and like just like a different dynamic and kind of its own thing. And we took away the whole like double lead thing, and we're like, yeah, we could have it be just one guy going into the army,
right? And
then he makes all his friends in the army. But so we got to work with Ivan Reitman, which was really, really cool. It was like just like, this guy's a legend. But it was also really nerve-wracking. It was like really nerve-wracking to like have to like, like go like, oh, you're going to go sit in a room with Ivan Reitman for a while. And like, it was like great to like get to know him, but at the same time, he's so successful. There was this one day where we were pitching, and you have to wait for like so many people when you go to pitch something. And we showed up to Hulu, and it was Zach, Trevor, and me. And the only other person there was Ivan Reitman. And we were just like awkwardly waiting in the waiting room with Ivan Reitman. And
can we start?
He was like, just like at one point got up and he started walking around the room looking at the wallpaper. And the wallpaper had like different, like it was like one of those like old newspaper wallpapers. Like it's like a TGI Fridays or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Putnam Pantry.
And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go do what Ivan Reitman's doing. I'm going to look around at the walls. And he like, while I'm like next to him, he like goes and he points over to one of the headlines and he goes, we did he points to like the Titanic on the thing. He goes, we did a Titanic bit in Ghostbusters too. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
I'm aware.
I remember. He was like, yeah, I liked Ghostbusters too. And I was like, yeah, it was good.
I did too from the other side, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was so funny. He had like this thing in his voice where he was like you could tell he thought it got a bad rap. And,
it definitely did.
Yeah. Where he was like, I enjoyed it. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I was like, yeah, like Vigo was like a great villain. And
yeah.
And then he was like, yeah. And Peter McNichol was great. And
From
he
Chicago
was like,
Hope.
And he said that Peter McNichol, like they had like that character, like everything that was a character, Peter McNichol came in with. Like, of course, that's not how it was written. That. And that guy made that character, which is such a significant character in that movie.
Well, you know the story of John Candy in the first one, right? He was cast in the Rick Moranis role originally.
No, I haven't heard this story. No. So
Candy, so Ivan Reitman started with all the SCTV people. Yeah. He made a movie called Cannibal Girls with Eugene Levy and, knew all those guys forever, and Stripes, obviously John Candy. So John Candy was like their first pick, and he is in that role as Lewis. And he shows up on set and he's like, he's playing the guy as like super German. With a German accent and everything. And they're like, John, what are you doing? He's like, no, this is how I'm playing this guy. And they're like, no. And he's like, this is how I'm doing it. If you don't, fuck off if you don't like it. And he just like left. So they hired Moranis. But he insisted that it was going to be a German guy with a German accent. And if they didn't like it, he wasn't doing it.
Wow. He was wrong.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. It's like the opposite of the Peter McNichol thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I would also say, On Our Own, the Bobby Brown song, better than the Ray Parker Jr. Ghostbusters song.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. I was obsessed with that when I was a kid. I had a tape player, and I would like, listen to it and then rewind it. You got to spend spend 4 minutes listening to the song and then 2 minutes rewinding it.
In anticipation to hear about Vigo, the Master of Evil.
Yeah.
Just going to mess with your boys. Was that the first? Because not only is it Ivan Reitman, who's like, obviously that's like a major director producer, but you're also working on his property. So it's not even like something you generated that you can have like the confidence in of like, it's your idea, even though, obviously you've pitched a take on it, but it's like, it's his thing too.
Oh, totally. I mean, like it was really funny because we did have this meeting with him and we pitched our take on it, and part of our take was like was that we would have a character that was like a like kind of crazy unhoused guy who was like like in the military for 3 square meals in a cot, kind of thing, and so we pitched him the thing, and the first thing he says after we like finish this pitch is like, we're at breakfast at this place. He goes, well, I hate this character. And just starts talking about how it's like we're mocking the military, and like he's like about how much of the movie's success was based on how the military embraced Stripes and and he like talked about all these other things that he hated about it. And then at the end of the meeting, like was like, but I like you guys. And we were like, oh, cool. Have a nice day. And we're driving back, this was in West Hollywood, driving back to East Hollywood where, the all the people who've traveled from New York to LA live. And we get a phone call from the executives that work with him that like kind of set this whole thing up, and they're like, that was great. And we were like, what do you mean? And they're like, he said he liked you. Like, yeah, but he said he hated what we did.
He hates your personality, thinks you're hot.
But like, he's like, but that like, he never says he likes anyone unless he actually likes them, and we're going forward with this. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And that was like,
you can pitch him a different idea, but you can't be different people. So the hard part is that one.
Yeah. The hard part is getting him to like you. And it was cool. I mean, like in that, like writing on that level is very much like a lesson in collaboration and of like how to adjust your vision, but like how to keep that vision while constantly incorporating other people's visions into that. Like early on, we wrote a script for Paramount for this movie, and it was this insane movie, and it was very Whitest Kids. It's very like, it was called End of the World. We did it before, what's that? This Is the End came out. And then when our manager found out that like This Is the End was coming out, they were like, oh, that guy stole the, and I was like, no, he's just, it's
in the air, man.
The year's 2010. It's, like 2012 is closely. Everyone's thinking about it. And yeah, so we had this like insane idea that we pitched as like, oh, it's about us dealing with the end of the world. And then like what the script was about a pickup basketball team that were stupid enough to think that they could get drafted as an NBA team and thought that that's how it worked, who all worked at the ESPN Zone restaurant together. And the end of the world ends up happening and becoming big news. And one of the guys is like a conspiracy theorist, and he decides that they should go to the island where the skull and bones meet to find out what they're doing. And then they find out that like they don't know what to do about the end of the world, but they do have this thing that lets them time travel back in time. And so we steal that and we go to a deserted island where we're time traveling back in time. And so it was this insane thing, and it ends up with like us like blasting off into outer space with the president and stuff like that on like this like escape pod spaceship. And we got the notes from them, and they were like, well, we thought this would be more like Da Vinci Code.
We're like, oh no.
And we were like, oh, okay. So let's make this like Da Vinci Code. And so we just like heard their note of like, this is what we want. And we're like, all right, let's give them exactly what they want without thinking about how we keep our thing. Because our thing was like, it was crazy, but that's who we were. It was like, let's make like the craziest kind of, but let's have some sort of logical jump and let's have it be fun. And it like ended up like just getting watered down. And I remember we did like a live reading of the script like maybe 8 years ago, like just like, hey, here's this dead script we had. And it was just, just a theater full of people. And we just found whatever draft of the script we could. And I remember reading that draft and being like, oh, this is really funny. This is like funny. And then like we got to the part where the rewrite started and the thing just sucked. It just was like, because we didn't know how to do that thing of like listening to the notes and being able to like interpret what's being said, but concentrating on like adjusting your vision or making that new thing your vision, which is like, I think that's working with executives and working at that level where you're incorporating so many different people's voice into what you're putting out there is the art of that.
I remember I spent a day with John Cleese a couple of years ago, and it's John Cleese. Like this guy would have no issues, but he was talking about rewrites. And he was talking about how Disney fired him This was recently. He was telling me, I was like, what? At the time. This is like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, well, I wrote this script. It was a really great script with my writing partner. And, we wrote it. And they gave us notes. So we went back in and they're like, hey, you didn't incorporate any of the notes. And I said, yeah, why would I do that? And they're like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, see, you've hired me to write something good and these notes would make it worse. So I'm not going to do that. And they were like, you're fired. And I was like, yeah, like that's not going to work. Like, I don't care who you are. They're going to be like, no.
This is what I think is like every note you got to figure out some way to have that like in there. And maybe it's just like lightly like touched in a way. Maybe it's something different, but it's like, that's your job is to like figure out like, even if, like, cause that's also the thing is like, you can go like, oh, this note's going to make this worse, but you could also like figure out some way that note is being addressed while making it better, Right. How
do I make them happy without making this worse?
Yeah. I mean, like I think, constraints, big part of making art, there's the old saying like necessity is the mother of invention, where it's like when you are pushing yourself to like figure out something in some way and figure out just how to make it come, that's when you hit these like brilliant aha moments, you know.
Yeah, you have to innovate and think a way differently you would. But I just loved how you're just like, well, no, my job is to make a good thing, and you've told me to make it worse, so go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It was like such a weird, like, no, obviously they're not going to go for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the way.
That's the wonder of succeeding. Is that you
True,
can tell
but then you're
people to
still
fuck
getting
off.
fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's still not working. So I was just like, wow, even at that level. And I'm sure the notes were horrible. I'm sure they were the worst notes ever, as most notes are, but at the same time. But with that in mind, Friday night, Fox is kicking off the show Mantis.
Yeah.
And somebody greenlit that, which is about a guy in a wheelchair who invents basically like an Iron Man suit and is a superhero.
He's basically
And
Iron
Mantis-
Man, you know, like
Mantis stands for Mechanically Augmented Neurotransmitter Interactive System.
yeah. And what is this British guy from?
He was the bad guy. Oh, he was on Cheers. He was Rebecca, or was the guy that owned the bar? Didn't he own the bar upstairs?
Yes,
was,
I
like,
think.
buying Cheers.
Yeah, like and had like a thing with Kirstie Alley at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's Roger Rees, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
Obviously that show did not go. Neither did Under Suspicion, which the photo from Under Suspicion is like they took 40 photos of this actress in different costumes that day. And they were just like, is this a show?
Yeah.
Like it totally looks like came before the show.
It has like that could be one of those like headshots where the person's like, I could be a detective on a show.
Yeah, does this work? What is that? Then we get into the primetime cable series, and the first one here that jumped out at me is Exit 57, which I think is such an underrated, sort of lost 90s sketch show. They don't mention any of the cast in this article because none of them were names, but it was Amy Sedaris, it was Stephen Colbert, it was all the people who then did Stranger with Candy. They were all in Second City at the time. They were like in the same class at Second City, so that was their sketch show. And it's real weird. It is bizarre, just as bizarre as you would imagine that group of people in their first TV show.
Yeah.
Because Comedy Central did, I think, 3 sketch shows that year. Exit 57 was one of them. The Vacant Lot was one of them. And I forget what the third one was, but
The Vacant Lot was one that
hit.
Trevor used to bring up, was like that I wasn't familiar with.
It was Mark McKinney's brother was on it. I think he was the only one I can think of that I know from stuff.
Crazy.
But Exit 57, I remember there was Amy Sedaris played a handy woman, like a handyman type woman who was paraplegic but didn't have a wheelchair. So she had like a toolbox and just dragged herself around everywhere. And so she was like the super in like an apartment building and people need something fixed and she'd come like crawling in with this toolbox and being like, fix it. And they'd be like, do you need help? And she'd be like, no. It was ridiculous. It was such a weird show.
Yeah.
I've never even been able to find clips of it. I wonder if people have since put some stuff on YouTube, but I would love to see it again because I remember loving it. Then you get The Head and The Max. The Max was based on the Image comic. The Head was just one dude's weird idea.
Yeah.
That was extra strange.
It was like he had a purple alien that would pop from his head.
His giant head, his like giant deformed head, and this alien lived inside it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real weird. Real weird.
But wait, and there's also this in the primetime cable series, this High Octane starring Sofia Coppola and Zoe Cassavetes.
Yes, daughter of John.
Yeah.
Check out the LA scene from the front seat of a 69 GTO convertible in a magazine show that gives new meaning to the term freewheeling.
So Francis Ford Coppola's daughter and John Cassavetes' daughter in a 69 GTO talking about Los Angeles.
Drive around LA. Yeah. Like, what a sweet gig that was for them.
Yeah.
It seems like Coppola, not that they're not talented because they absolutely are, those two women, but like, it's like Francis and John go to the network and they're like, hey, can you keep our daughters busy this summer? Just give us something to do.
Hey, it worked. This
Yeah.
Hey, our daughters, they need like an internship, but like, because we're really successful, it should be something, where, normal people would kill for it.
Yeah, get them out of our hair for the summer. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Give them something to do. Yeah. And this is also when E didn't have a lot of its own programming, so they were just sort of starting having weird stuff. So this was called Q&E. It was hosted by Eleanor Mondale, the daughter of former Vice President Walter Mondale.
Yeah, there's a lot of
this.
You could tell Nepo Baby wasn't really a term at this point.
No. Walter Mondale's daughter interviewing people like Brendan Tartikoff.
That's
okay.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sure. And then just a bunch of weird stuff, Nashville Network, the main event starring Super Dave Osborne, which was Bob Einstein's first non-pay cable Super Dave show. He had the Showtime show before this.
Yeah.
This was USA Network. Did not go more than that. William Shatner's Tech War on the Sci-Fi Channel.
I would like to unearth this is Tech War, and it seems like Tech War it spawned 4 syndicated TV movies.
Yes, and they were based off novels he wrote.
Yeah, I feel like that's some good mid-hunting right there.
And who it starred was Greg Evigan from My Two Dads and BJ and the Bear.
Oh, the non-Paul Reiser from My Two Dads.
Yes. It was the first show he was in where he didn't sing the theme song.
Oh, wow.
William Shatner's Tech War. We're in the future war.
That's great.
Yeah, just some bizarre stuff. Space Precinct, which actually wasn't a bad show. It was Jerry Anderson. It's a British show. But the photo they've used, it just looks like these two dudes on a drive-in date with like a melting blob of blueberry poop.
It looks like you're like, they what's that movie, like Brain Damage?
The Peter Jackson movie? The Frank Heneletter with Almer, the little worm.
It's like, they made a sequel to Brain Damage. Isn't that it? Oh, cool.
And they go urban police drama meets sci-fi. NYPD Blue Horizon. Oh man, show not that bad, but they really don't do it any favors with that photo. What a terrible photo. There's also a bunch of cable channels that are new channels this year. Several of them I do not think either didn't happen at all or definitely didn't last long. There's the Ecology channel. That didn't happen. This one called Fad TV, where supermodels pose and print from Milan to Paris wearing the newest designer clothes, plus updates on aromatherapy and plastic surgery techniques. But then History Channel, Game Show Network.
They've Popcorn Channel, preview the latest flicks, then check out local theater listings. Actually, this is a great segue right here. Another thing that I want to plug is on Sunday nights, me and my brother, we host a show called Trailer Boys, where we watch movie trailers that the audience submit. We give them a theme every week, and they submit the trailers to a website. If you want to check it out, it's miseryloves.us. And they submit their name and a movie trailer, like the YouTube clip of the movie trailer. And then we spend the show picking out these movie trailers, and we give it a score, and then the audience gives it a score. So that's Sunday nights, but that's very much the Popcorn Channel there. Yeah,
I love trailers. Yeah, that didn't go very far. There's a channel for computer hackers. This is in 94. The Jones Computer Network. This 24-hour channel serves hackers and techno dummies alike. The Sega Channel, which I still to this day do not understand how it worked. You could play games on it.
Oh, this is basically Twitch before Twitch.
But you would play the games through the channel. You wouldn't watch people play the game.
Oh.
they were like, you hooked your Sega up and you could play games that weren't out yet and stuff.
I think I remember this. I think
only the richest kids had it.
Yeah. I think it was like a pay-per-view kind of thing where you could rent a game through your TV, but it would cost like $15 to rent it for like an hour or something. Like
that would make sense. Yeah, I know it was a pay channel in some capacity.
Yeah.
But that sounds nuts. And then, like, as a sidebar, they're like, oh, also UPN and the WB are doing a thing, but I don't know what they'll be. We're focused on the Jones Computer Network really here. I think that's going to be the big one.
This is very much like the 24-hour channel serves hackers and techno dummies alike. It's like, oh, you don't know what a hacker is.
No,
you don't know
idea.
that like
it's
a
something to do
hacker
with
is
computers.
just a cyber criminal. Like that's a
yes.
That's you're overlooking that
like hacky
aspect
sack, right?
of it.
Yeah, and then in the Wings thing you have here, which is all these shows, most of them didn't happen, didn't even air, or some of them just only last a few episodes. You get Delta Burke Show Delta, which was a spinoff of Designing Women. You have a show that I didn't know they did this. This is, speaking of Boston, there's a CBS show at the time was called Under the Hood, with George Wendt playing the Car Talk guys.
Yeah.
And it was based on them. And I mean, that kind of like, if you're like, oh, Cheers is over, we need to have something Boston-y with George Wendt, like, again, on paper, that's not a bad idea.
And they call it out here where they say, they're like, oh, like, they're just doing the George Wendt version of Frasier.
Yeah.
The Norm Frasier.
Which became the George Wendt Show, which didn't last very long. Valerie Harper had another attempt at a show post Valerie that didn't work. And this was, I don't remember.
Called The Office.
The Office, yes. An ensemble comedy about a bunch of chatty secretaries. That's literally what it says.
It's called The Office.
There's a show starring
the title
Ralph.
Wasn't the problem there. I'll tell you that.
No, I don't think that was the problem. There's a show starring Ralph Macchio called The Ties That Bind. But here's the crazy part. His cousin is a blue-collar funeral parlor employee played by Andrew Dice Clay.
Have you seen his Instagram?
I've seen some of it. Yeah.
It's great. I follow him on Instagram. Just him walking up to people going, are you the guy? The guy who wanted...
Did you want an autograph?
Who wanted the picture? They said you're the guy that wanted...
Yeah. They never say yes.
Yeah. There's a clip of him walking up to Matt Damon doing that.
That's hilarious. See, Matt Damon would think that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one, this sounds like a joke. Fox has 8 backup shows, more than any other network. And it says, ready to bandage any hemorrhaging in their schedule is Medicine Ball, a hot young medical drama with lots of smooth operators, including Tom Powell, a long-haired saxophone jamming super surgeon who comes equipped with a sharp scalpel and an even sharper attitude. That sounds so awful.
Wow. That sounds like the teacher from Boy Meets World had a TV show. Like had his own show, basically.
Oof. And then they talk about John Leguizamo's House of Buggin', which did get on, but didn't go well.
Yeah.
And I love John Leguizamo, but that was not a good fit. Not a good fit. Then all the TV movies here.
This blew my mind. Yeah. All these TV movies. There's so many. Daytona Blues, insane. Starring Shelley Long, Mel Harris, and Delane Matthews. 3 women try to relive their spring break in Florida. Okay.
This one, I'm not going to read the title till I read the premise. It's on ABC, and it's 4 walls do a prison make for Judith Light as an unjustly convicted woman who fights a legal battle against brutal guards in this fact-based drama called Against Their Will, Women in Prison.
Well, there is something like, with like prisons that like prisons and against their will. Huh.
Yeah.
Like what is there's something that I forget what it is. There's something that I associate that phrase with prison. Huh.
It seems right. It seems right.
Yeah, it fits. It definitely fits.
Then this is a movie that doesn't sound that interesting, but the title is great. It's called Because Mommy Works. Oh man, Reba McEntire is in a movie based off her hit song, Is There Life Out There? She stars as a woman who looks beyond her family for fulfillment by returning to college.
Like,
oh my God, John Lithgow in an AIDS movie.
oh yeah.
Jeez.
There was a, wait, where is this? Oh yeah, this looks really good. I want to find this one. And this actually involves someone I worked with. The Innocent, an assistant DA, Frasier's Kelsey Grammer, learns the secret of a crime by learning to communicate with an autistic boy through the boy's drawings.
God.
Also starring Polly Draper and Dean Stockwell. We made a pilot for Comedy Central, and it was called Boyfriends, and it was about a boy band, like an NSYNC type band, and me and Trevor and Timmy were the members of the band that weren't the Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
And
you're the Joey Fatonis.
Yeah, and it was like the day, like it starts with their accountant telling the three of them that they're out of money. And Trevor's character, like, well, my character and Timmy's character have to downsize and like move in together and become roommates. Trevor's character's moving into a new place because he has this new girlfriend who's older, and they later find out that their relationship's a bit weird because she's this older woman played by Polly Draper, and who is also the mother of the Naked Brothers band, who
yes,
are now very notable actors by their own right. The relationship's really weird because she has a son who's also named Trevor, who looks like Trevor, and who died.
Okay. Did Trevor play him in like flashbacks or anything?
We just did the pilot, and we just had some kid that like looked kind of like Trevor, and so, but he has this great line in it where he's like, that's just how the human brains, one day when your kids die, and spoiler alert, they're gonna die, you're gonna want to date a kid, someone who looks just like them. That's just how the human brain works.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's not wrong to the point where NBC has a movie called Stolen Youth, where two longtime female friends think nothing can come between them until one falls for the other's 17-year-old son.
See? It's perfect. It makes perfect sense.
This one sounds like Mad Libs. It's called Bad Dreams. It's a Fox movie. A midlife crisis turns into a dangerous obsession when a 40-year-old, this is where it gets weird, a 40-year-old racehorse trainer tries to rein in a gorgeous young model.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that I was confused. It was like, okay. All right. Wait, yeah. They're just throwing in details together, and it's called Bad Dreams. Okay.
Yeah. And then the Bo Jackson story. I'm really curious who played Bo Jackson.
What was the Bo Jackson story to that point was just that he
from a humble start to the Heisman Trophy, Pro Ball, and All-Star Baseball. This was post Pro Stars. He was the multi-sport guy.
But yeah, he's the multi-sport guy, and then he got injured and had to like leave sports. And
I think that was after the movie.
Okay. Oh, okay. It ended with him being like, I'm going to be playing forever.
Yeah, this some of these, man, these just sound like jokes. Like, I can't believe Madonna, the early years, was a made-for-TV movie on Fox. Oh my God.
Oh, that looks good.
Roseanne. So there were two TV movies about Roseanne and Tom Arnold. They were on two different networks, and they were on at the same time with two different sets of actors playing Tom and Roseanne. And I've talked to Tom Arnold about it. And if you ever get the opportunity to ask Tom about the two rival Tom and Roseanne movies, you're in for a treat for a couple hours. One of them, the guy who plays Tom is the guy who plays Tackleberry in Police Academy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the other one, Tom's played by the guy who was, this will only mean something to like 4 people, but he's the nice guy lead in the horror movie Dolls.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, very, very, very odd.
Dolls is the one where it's
So
the doll
many of these-
holding the eyeballs on the cover?
Yes, holding the
Yeah.
eyeballs. He's like the nice guy that the dolls don't murder because he likes dolls.
Oh.
He's a kid at heart.
Now, Tackleberry from Police Academy is older than Tom Arnold, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, he is very not well cast. He tries. He's not a bad actor, and he really tries. But that is real weird casting.
yeah. It's
Real weird
really funny too that like it's like Fox and NBC. Or wait, what was Roseanne? Was Roseanne ABC?
ABC.
Or-
So one was
yeah.
on Fox and one was on NBC, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny to do these like takedown movies of
They're like, we'll get him. We'll get their ratings because people want to see them, but also we'll get them.
yeah.
Oh my god! Oh god! This movie, you'll be surprised what this is about. It's called Without Consent, and it stars. It's not what you think. It stars Beverly Hills 90210's Jenny Garth. Stars as a young girl who finds herself committed by her parents to a psychiatric hospital.
Is that like a double feature with Against Their Will?
I'm wondering. There's one called To Sleep with Danger. John Stamos plays a sweet-talking serial killer who charms his victims to death. The Gambler Part 5, Playing for Keeps. The card-playing cowboy played by Kenny Rogers returns to search for his son, who's apparently run off with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Whoa.
The Gambler 5.
Man.
Wow. This is
This is crazy.
Insanity.
This the amount of like TV movies that they were making back then.
Holy Christ, they're still going. We'll have to do a part 2 of this at some point because I think we're already like 90 minutes in and we're just on the movies. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like TV channels don't make movies anymore. Like they're, I mean,
No.
like HBO, you know, like, but like it's not like NBC is making like a made for TV movie, and like they're just
well,
like
they
oh,
were
that-
still competing with theaters at this time. Like they were like, what can we do that will set us apart? We'll use and this also, they're really using a lot of IP. So like you have Saved by the Bell, Wedding in Las Vegas, and a new Rockford Files, and a new Munsters. Like they're like, what's our differentiator? Oh, we can do a MacGyver TV movie.
yeah.
Like so weird.
This was the time where you'd watch TV for IP, and you'd go
Yeah.
to the movies for original storytelling.
Exactly. You wouldn't go see a movie based off the made-for-TV movie MacGyver Trail to Doomsday,
Yeah.
which actually is quite a lot like the Da Vinci Code.
I do love the Langoliers picture that they have in this.
Yes, Stephen King, weird mustache, weird haircut. He's
Weird
at like
fitting
a
suit too. Like,
weird
it's-
fitting suit. He's at a fancy table on a airplane runway.
Yeah.
Also starring Dean Stockwell, who's in like every other thing.
Yeah. Bronson Pinchot. I remember Bronson Pinchot ripping
He's the
paper.
villain.
Yeah.
Yes, he's really good. The Langoliers isn't bad.
I love that. I mean, Stephen King, I'm not like a huge fan. Like this is actually kind of like goes into mid hunters kind of in a way. It's like I'm not a fan of like Stephen King's like best stuff is the best stuff ever. I love his shit. Like I love the crap.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the made for
And he
TV
would admit that
movies
stuff's yeah.
is such a sweet spot for me. The
Golden
yeah.
Years. Sometimes they come back,
Yeah.
which had 2 sequels. Sometimes they come back again, and sometimes they come back for more.
Yeah. We mean it. They come back.
For more. Then Ivana trumps For Love Alone. Big hair, big jewels, big money, all based on the bestseller about a woman who grabs everything life has to offer.
Wow.
Watch for a cameo by Ivana herself, who's now buried in a golf course. She's buried in a golf course. That's not even a thing. It's not like, oh, that's the route she went. Like, that's not a thing people do.
Yeah.
Oh, Truman Capote's One Christmas. Oh my God, the weirdest.
This is when the
going.
Munsters made for TV movie came out.
Yep.
No,
The
it's
Burning
not the
Season.
Addamses. Oh, because the Addams Family movie.
Yes, in 94. So they were like, what do we have that's like that?
Yeah.
We still got. Oh, this is when the HBO movie Tyson came out with Michael J. White playing Mike Tyson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love Michael J. White. This was, he was supposed to be like the next big thing playing Tyson, and then he did Spawn.
Yeah.
And he's just been doing like sort of direct-to-video martial arts movies since then that are all very entertaining.
They've got,
but
I've seen, he shows up on Trailer Boys quite a bit. And it's always oh, wow. Like,
they do a lot with a little.
Here's the thing. The middle class in society hasn't only died, it's died in movies. There's no like middle class in movies, because it's either like these movies that are just like these like scams of movies that just want you to like look at the cover and buy it, and it's just like not a well-told story
I thought it was
whatsoever.
renting
Or,
Jurassic
like, the biggest
Park
movies.
Yeah.
And it's just, there are some people out there that are still like, I like movies and I want to make good movies, and Michael J. White is one of those guys.
Yeah, he's pumping them out. I can't believe you're still going. Fatherland. This is an alternate history movie where Hitler won World War II, and it stars Rutger Hauer as an SS officer.
Oh, did you see this one here? That's a good transition to something that I have to track down that played on A&E, which was Genghis Khan. In this dark comedy, a former Nazi SS officer starts spouting Yiddish when the ghost of a Jewish comedian and ventriloquist killed in a concentration camp decides that the former Nazi is the person he most wants to convert to Judaism.
How is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Like how?
That
also...
we not
should
heard of
that.
too. Like, that's a real thing that got made. This is out there. And
Here's
with
a
all
funny
this,
premise.
with the internet and all this, we have never heard of Genghis Khan.
We should take all these actual movies that aired this year and go pitch them to networks as new ideas and see their reactions. And we'd be like, really? Because you made this movie 30 years ago.
Oh, no.
And that's when you said it was a good idea.
Yeah, and then if they end up greenlighting one of them, though, then we already have the script done. Everything's already done. We just have to keep
Just
it from
re-air
them.
the movie. We just revoice it.
Yeah.
There is a really good one here called Witch Hunt, which was a sequel to Cast a Deadly Spell, which took place in the 40s, and it was like a 40s noir movie where everyone uses magic. This was the sequel. It takes place in the 50s in LA, stars Dennis Hopper as a Hollywood detective. Penelope Ann Miller's in it. It's kind of a comedy. It's very Tales from the Crypty. I really enjoyed that one.
Citizen X I've also heard of.
That was grim. I remember that.
Stephen Ray.
Yes,
true story
plays
about
a
the
serial killer.
Oh, I think I saw that movie. I think they made something like this recently.
Yeah, it's pretty severe.
It's like a guy trying to investigate this serial killer in like communist Russia or like post-war Russia when like you don't say that anything bad happens in Russia.
And he killed like a ton of kids too. It was horrific. This one, The Haunting of Seacliff Inn. A new bed and breakfast gets a little too cozy when the original owner's ghost shows up.
Oh.
These are all
It's just
classics.
fun.
And
And no,
didn't go
like
forever.
this is such a funny thing is they also just do. They're like, hey, here are movies that are going to be on TV. Let's tell
Yes,
you about like
Joy Luck Club, Bugsy,
My
River Runs
Girl.
Through It. Ace Ventura.
here's the plot to My Girl.
I don't remember
this is a
one.
funny one. Mr. Saturday Night. Billy Crystal experienced a rare box office failure. All right. Well,
It'd be funny if
that's like the
if you worked at TV Guide and you took Mr. Saturday Night and then just put the synopsis, like re-put the Genghis Cohen synopsis there to see if anyone noticed. Oh my! I don't remember The Distinguished Gentleman starring Eddie Murphy. Eddie
is
goes
that
to
the one he
Washington
gets
as a
into
con man.
politics?
Yeah, he hustles his way into Congress.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
He runs as like there's like I think it's Florida. This is just my memory of what this plot is he runs as like the he gets his name changed. The politician dies who's like this like lifelong incumbent there, and he gets his name changed and runs under the same name, and so everyone ends up voting him in because they're just like, oh yeah, I always vote for this person.
Is it funny? I've like that's one because they mention a bunch of like Boomerang and these other Eddie Murphy movies that people still talk about. That one I've never heard anyone even bring up.
It's yeah, I remember liking it. It's that kind of like it's no Dave,
Sure,
but it's like a similar kind of feel. Oh, one of my favorites is playing on ABC, Sneakers. Love that movie.
great movie. And Arachnophobia, which is a totally
VHS
underrated film. Like
Yeah.
Arachnophobia should be mentioned way more than it is. Like I feel like that people sleep on that movie. And I do want to mention The Good Son, a movie I auditioned for.
You auditioned for The Good Son?
They shot it in Gloucester. And I auditioned as a kid. I auditioned for like 3 movies in my childhood. That was one of them.
What part?
I think it was the Elijah Wood part.
Oh, wow.
They wanted like an unknown and like a local. I didn't get very far.
And the problem
and
was
then I
they were
got-
like, Ken can. Here's the thing: Ken can fly.
Yeah.
So that line,
It's
if I
gonna
let you
ruin
go,
the
do you think you
whole-
can fly? Is not going to play the same because
He'll be like, no, I know I can. And then it becomes a reboot of The Boy Who Could Fly.
it'll screw up the climax of the movie. It's a dark.
The other one was
movie.
Batman Returns, where they were casting Robin.
Oh, they were gonna have Robin in Batman Returns.
Yeah, they actually ended up casting Marlon Waynes, and he is cast. He's credited, but they didn't use any of him in the movie. They actually even had an action figure and everything, but he was supposed to be Robin. That's
And they just cut that
And the-
entire thing out.
cut the entire thing out. I think before they really started shooting it. But the woman who was casting it is the woman who discovered Eddie Furlong at a YMCA.
Oh,
So she just kept talking about that nonstop, about how that was the greatest thing she ever did. And yeah.
funny story. So I was this isn't that funny of a story, but I was teaching sketch comedy classes in Hollywood, and which I tend to do, and we stopped for break, and people were like all talking about something. We came back from break, and people are like, "Hey, yeah, the NBA season has been canceled because of COVID." And I was like, "Huh, this is serious. Wow."
Yeah, that's
And
a
then
pretty big deal. Yeah.
we finished out class, and I was like, I should go stock up on groceries before I go home, and went to a grocery store, and it was kind of swamped, and like everything had been sort of run through, and I was in line behind Eddie Furlong at the grocery store
Remember what he was buying?
the night I was like, hey, this COVID thing is serious. Yeah, when everyone was kind of storming the grocery stores.
He'll forever be intrinsically linked with COVID buying panic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Good
just
for him
funny
that he
'cause
wasn't working there.
it's just funny because it's like, you know, like, okay, John, let's see what John Connor's doing. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows
doing what
about
I'm doing.
apocalypses.
Yeah.
I'm doing the right thing if he's here.
Yeah.
Then they get into all the MTV specials. There's one called Help Not Wanted, an MTV News special report. Slackers can't get work. At least host Tabitha Soren has a job. Tabitha been on the show. Great person. And then
that's fun. Tabitha Soren was on the show. That's great.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's great. She has family in Rhode Island, and she got her start as a news anchor in Vermont when she was like 19. And she used to have to do the camera and everything, do reports like on the scene and do everything.
Like set up the camera on the tripod, hit record, and then hey, that's cool.
100%. She's super cool. And then Sex in the 90s, which I remember were just these massive documentaries that HBO did about, that MTV did about sex that felt like you were going to get in trouble for watching, but they're actually really well done. There's one called Smart Sex. Generation X opens up about safe sex, the use of condoms, and first-time sexual experiences. Here's the kicker. Christian Slater hosts. You want to see Christian Slater talking about condoms?
He definitely had sex with someone from that set, right?
Oh, probably on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of
for an
cutscenes,
MTV thing, talking about sex. Yeah. You're Christian Slater.
Yeah. In 1994. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
And then Taxi Cab Confessions, which HBO was like a huge hit for HBO, but it's so terrible. It's so terrible.
Do you know there's an episode of Taxi Cab Confessions with the two guys, Walter? I'm really bad with names right now, but the two guys from Steely Dan.
Oh yeah. Walter. Jesus, Donald
Fagen.
Yeah, Donald Fagen and Walter. Yes, but they're in the taxi cab.
With like it's actually pretty funny because a younger woman with them who is like, I like that Ricky Don't Lose Your Number song, and they're kind of like realize she has like no idea that Steely Dan has
who they are.
A lot of songs, and yeah,
we have more songs than that. There's a thing called Off Camera with Dean Cain. TV's Man of Steel proves his mettle by kicking a soccer ball with Andrew Shue and walking a dog with Holly Robinson. And then TV Guide makes this bitchy comment in parentheses, among other amazing feats. Oh boy. Magic of David Copperfield 16.
I saw some headline recently about like,
oh yeah, he's got a sex island.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
that wasn't the headline I saw. I saw a headline about like his like making the Statue of Liberty disappear thing, and it's like they know how he did that.
Yeah.
It was a rotating stage that slowly rotated. Like
breaking news.
What are we talking about here? Like, why is this? Yeah.
Also, a thing called "It's Alive: The True Story of Frankenstein." Seems like a false advertising.
Yeah.
And then another thing called "The Real Frankenstein: The Untold Story."
Frankenstein
Two
was
different
big this
competing
year.
things. Wow,
it
that's
was
weird.
The same companies that made the
Tom
two
and Roseanne.
Roseanne. Yeah.
Same cast too.
Yeah,
it was the guy who plays Tackleberry plays Frankenstein in one.
Yeah.
Then here's the thing no one ever mentions anymore, and I someday want to get to the bottom of this. The Bermuda Triangle, Secrets Revealed. I have not heard a Bermuda Triangle tale in decades.
Yeah. Like,
it's just not a thing now?
Stop talking about it. Like, I feel like it was something that was just like, oh, this is like good for like lore right now. But ever since the internet, people were like, yeah, we know where planes go. Like we can track them. It's like if we can track Taylor Swift's plane where it goes every second of the day for a year, we know this whole Bermuda Triangle thing's bullshit.
No longer mystery. Here's the thing I wanted to watch. Sesame Street Stays Up Late, a monster New Year's Eve party.
What time's it on?
I'm imagining it goes to midnight. They just say Elmo rings in the new year with his own late night news show. Not a talk show, a news show.
That's great.
Wow.
Let's just get kids staying up later and later
to watch Elmo.
Yeah.
And then late night shows, we have the Dennis Prager show. I don't know who that is. He's some right-wing guy.
Sounds pretty cool.
Thing called The Extraordinary, which is kind of like Unsolved Mysteries, but is a talk show. And then the Jon Stewart Show. After his MTV show, he had a syndicated talk show that replaced Arsenio Hall. It was in Arsenio Hall's time slot. And it was less than a season. It was weird. It was actually pretty great, but people hated it.
I remember his show. I was a big fan of his show on MTV. And that was actually the first time I ever saw The State, was they were on his show.
They're in the final episode. They trashed the set.
Yeah, they trashed the set. They were like, "Oh, you guys are getting rid of this. Can we trash the set?" That was great. And they showed the like beat it with like the nuns fighting.
Yep.
I forget who they were fighting. It was nuns fighting each other?
I can't remember either. It was like rabbis or something like that.
Oh yeah. I think it was nuns fighting rabbis. I think you're right.
Yeah, because it was only a half hour and it was weird, and then they made it like an hour long, sort of more traditional talk show, and it just didn't. People weren't having it. And then there was a show called The News with a Z, which was basically The Daily Show but sketches, and it was written by former and current Harvard Lampoon staffers.
The News.
And it says, can a topical comedy show deliver quality laughs 5 nights a week? Saturday Night Live has a tough enough time doing it once.
Yeah,
Oh my God, and all the daytime talk shows, they're the first person they highlight is Susan Powder. Do you remember her?
No, who was Susan? Wait, that name sounds familiar.
So she looked like the lead singer of Roxette. She had shaved head, bleach blonde hair. She was like this 500-pound housewife that lost all this weight and then had like these like self-help books and got her own talk show. She was like a huge phenomenon for like 2 years. But the Suzanne Powder show, the Suzanne Summers show. Man.
Daytime talk shows used to be huge.
Oh, everyone had one. Gordon Elliott, Jenny Jones. There was like 40 of them.
I feel like that. I mean, I think that was like this. All right, I'm about to. This is. I'm about to get a little dicey here.
Okay.
But I don't know if you know this, but this country we live in, our society, we weren't always as welcoming to have women in the workplace.
Oh, I've heard about this.
And I feel like, now people are, like everyone's at work. Everyone's constantly working.
Oh yeah, there's not like TV for women during the day.
Yeah, but that was a big thing. Now I think the TV during the day is like specifically TV for the unemployed. Like, where it's like, I think that's my theory on TMZ is that TMZ is designed to be like a workplace environment so that you can feel like you're like doing the like bullshit, like wasting time that you would be doing at the workplace, but you got laid off.
Yeah, or on similar terms, watching Hot Bench is like you're not at work because you had to go to court.
Yeah.
There's a show called Blade Warriors, and it says War on Wheels with former ballplayer Keith Hernandez straps on inline skates to host this weekly rolling competition.
Sounds like an American Gladiator with rollerblades kind of thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like the name came first. That's like Blade Warriors. What do we do?
We got Keith Hernandez. I don't know. He said he's up for something.
Yeah.
There's something called Beach Clash, surf and turf games with teams vying in such events as balloon races and bungee basketball. And then it literally says, bungee basketball? With a question mark. Oh
wait, in the Wild West Showdown, tenderfeet compete against genuine cowboys in Western events. Think City Slickers meets American Gladiators.
I would watch it based on that log line alone. Like that sentence, guys, it's City Slickers meets American Gladiators, sold.
So these beach class Blade Warriors and Wild West Showdown are all like, let's try and do American Gladiators.
Right. 7 years too late. And like with really weird, Fabio's Healthy Bodies magazine on television. My God. And then for the kids shows, I do want to mention Gargoyles was on that year, which I still think is one of the greatest cartoons ever. It's nice to see that Disney's finally embracing it after they ignored it for years. And
they're embracing it now. I thought you were like, because of this article, they're finally embracing it.
Oh, yeah. No, now I was always like, how come I'm not the biggest Disney fan, but I was like, how come Disney's always like, oh, it's Halloween, it's Nightmare Before Christmas? I'd be like, bullshit. First of all, it's a Christmas movie. Second of all, you have freaking Gargoyles and you're not using that for Halloween? Are you insane?
Yeah. It was a great show.
It's fantastic. They have Gladiators 2000. It's American Gladiators Junior with preteen participants facing physical challenges like assault and hang tough. And here's the spin, as well as health and fitness quizzes. So it's educational.
That is an example of a note that made something worse.
Yes.
Can this be educational?
Oh, but we do little health and fitness quizzes.
Look at this Marvel Action Hour. Marvel Comics
hosted by Stan
hosts
Lee.
2 superhero-filled half hours featuring Iron Man in the first and the Fantastic Four in the second.
And that was recycled Fantastic Four cartoons and new Iron Man cartoons.
Oh, weird.
Then you had, where is it here? The Tick. So this was Fox Saturday morning, had the first incarnation of The Tick. It's really funny. Ben Edlund actually worked on it, which was nuts. Like he created the show, created the comic, and then also ran the cartoon, which was crazy. It's really funny and weird. Yeah, I love the Tick cartoon. Every iteration of the Tick has been good.
Oh, you really skipped over Sweet Valley High, which...
Oh, yes, with Brittany and Cynthia Daniel.
A show where I discovered my manhood.
I think we all discovered your manhood on that show.
Yeah.
This show I've never heard of before, but I really hate the name of it. The Schunckums and Meat funny cartoon show. Meat spelled M-E-A-T. Combative cat and dog team Schunckums and Meat are the headliners in this trio of animated shorts that also follow the adventures of Tex Tinstar and Pith Possum. I'm assuming this is a Ren and Stimpy ripoff.
Yeah.
Schunckums and Meat? I don't even know if that aired.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
I bet that's like one of those like really problematic animation fans made that. I mean, but then again, a really problematic animation fan made Ren and Stimpy. Yeah. So
yeah. I don't think there's ever an excuse or a way to do a good show with a character named Meat.
Yeah.
It's never gonna work.
What was that? Meat Boy? That was a fun game.
Meat Boy? I don't know that one.
It's like a little indie game.
Is that a dream you had?
Meat Boy. It's something Meat Boy. I forget what it is. I'm telling you, there's a movie, a documentary about indie gaming, and that's one of the games that they follow the creation of.
Right. I'll take your word for it. A Secret World of Alex Mack. We all had a crush on Larissa Olenek. And then they were still doing Ninja Turtle ripoffs. And one of the most infamous is tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. The help of a benevolent alien who signals them via their glow-in-their-dark skin art, 4 teenagers transform into superheroes and save the galaxy whenever they're in trouble. So it's basically Power Rangers.
But they're teenagers with tattoos?
Yeah, they're magic tattoos that glow in the dark when they need to help this alien.
That's weird. How do they get tattoos? Don't you have to be like 18 to get a tattoo? I guess they have their parents' consent.
It's Beverly Hills. Maybe there's different rules.
Yeah, true.
So let's pencil in. We'll do a part 2 at some point with the actual listings because we got more than enough here.
Oh, great.
with the front part. But this, I have a huge list of things I need to hunt down and rewatch now.
Yeah, I know. This is really fun. This is like what Trailer Boys feels like, because we watch these trailers and we're like, oh, I have to watch this now.
I have to tune in because when I used to do my live weekly stand-up show, I had a thing. I would end every show with a thing I called the trailer test. So everyone who was on the show came back on stage and I showed them a trailer for a weird movie, and then it would do it like a consumer test, be like, so would you see this movie based on this trailer? And so I would show just bizarre things like Beat Street, Neon Maniacs, and like just crazy stuff.
You should come on.
Fun and weird. Hey, anytime. You know where to find me. I don't leave the house, so we'll do it. Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this.
Let me plug the stuff I have to actually plug.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I've been talking so much about this other stuff. First off, I teach comedy classes, do that over Zoom, so you can take it wherever in the world. I've got someone in Japan taking the class right now.
Oh, nice.
People in Ireland and England. It's 5 a.m. whenever I'm teaching class for him. The guy in Japan.
Funniest hour of the day.
So if you go to sambrownuniversity.com, you can sign up for my mailing list and find out more about upcoming classes. On June 5th, going to be in New York. I'm doing a stand-up show at Pianos. And on the next night, June 6th, at the Tribeca Film Festival, the Whitest Kids You Know are premiering our animated movie Mars. That we did a crowd-funded animated movie of a script that we wrote in 2012. We wrote the first draft of this thing, and we worked on it for years and years and years, and we were finally able to make it, and we made it as a cartoon, and Trevor recorded all his lines before he died, and so we were lucky enough that we have, like, this is like his last project, and so we're very excited that we have this premiere coming up very soon. And awesome. If you're like, Whitest Kids You Know, I have no idea what that is, you should check out Shout Factory. Are now are distributing our show. They're getting us a DVD box set that's going to be coming out of the entire series of our show, and they are also distributing it to different AVOD platforms. And
they have like a Prime channel. You can do Shout Factory and
TV. Yeah, they have Twitch channel. They have the YouTube. I don't know. YouTube's like censored in weird ways, but
sometimes that's better.
But we actually, like, what's funny is that we actually censored the show ourselves. We were actually like, hey, we dropped a lot of the hard F-bombs, not fuck, but the harder one, the one that's like a slur, and can we bleep those out? And some people got upset about it. And
did you replace them?
That's what we should have done. You
know the
friend?
movie Repo Man?
Yeah.
Repo Man's one of my favorite movies, and Alex Cox, when he made that movie, the deal he made with the studio is, I will let you edit this for TV if I get to write the replacements. Really? So he wrote them all. So he calls it the Melon Farmer edition, because instead of motherfucker, it's Melon Farmer, because he thought it was so ridiculous. So he came up with all the swear replacements, and they're so funny.
Oh, that seems like that's like the definitive edition of that.
It kind of is. And then my other favorite one is Return of the Living Dead, great zombie movie. Yeah. One of the main characters has a Letterman jacket that says "fuck you" on the back, like instead of the team. So obviously they can't show that on TV. So they shot every scene it's in twice. They had 2 jackets. So one says "fuck you" and the other one says TV version on the back.
Quick shout out here. Past guest of yours, Greg Johnson.
Yes.
Good friend of mine says to say hello.
Hello, Greg.
Has a great joke about the TV edit of Die Hard with a Vengeance, about how on the regular version, there's this whole sequence where Bruce Willis's John McClane character has to go to Harlem and wear a shirt that says, I hate, and then has the N-word on it. And for the TV version, they edited it so it looks like it says, I hate everybody. Which is funny because when you watch the movie, the next scene, or the next thing that happens is it zooms into Samuel Jackson and he's like, Call the cops. Someone's about to get stabbed.
He goes, I'm everybody.
Yeah. You know who's going to hate this? Everybody. Everybody's
What's
gonna
worse
hate
than
this.
that? Everybody. Oh man, that would have been a hilarious conversation in the studio. Well, I'll put links to all that stuff in the show description, and I'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah. No, yeah. I have to tell you I have to pick out some shows and tell you what I'd be watching. I mean, I think this was really fun. This was really fun diving into the weird records of TV show past and
the roads not taken.
Yeah. Look at this like weird. This is like the worst version of A Christmas Carol. This is what life would have been.
Because you weren't there.
Yeah.
Instead of Friends, we had 12 seasons of whatever of the one with the Hitler.
I didn't even point out that there was a show that was called On Our Own.
With the Smolletts.
It's the whole Smollett family, including Jussie Smollett, the infamous Jussie Smollett.
Yep, that's what brought the Smollett to fame. The first Smollett incident. And then you'll make a TV movie called The Smollett Incident about that thing.
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll star Tackleberry, a CGI Tackleberry as Jussie Smollett. There you go. That's Sam. Whitest Kids You Know, SamBrownUniversity.com. Go to your show tonight if you're in New York. If you're not in New York, start driving now to New York so you'll get there tomorrow night for the premiere of the Whitest Kids You Know animated movie. I'll have more than one episode a week for the rest of the month. That's my plan up and until my birthday. So I'll see you when I see you, hopefully multiple times. But I'll be here. So, don't worry about me. I'll be here. And I'll see you next time on a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.